the Greatest Ultimate Fighter Part 1. Now, before I make my selection, I'm going to break down those three candidates I did mention to you guys in the first video. So, candidate number 1, Jon Jones. And let's be honest, Jon Jones is on everybody's greatest of all time list. Everybody. I can very either he is number 1, number 2, number 3, so forth. He is there. And he has, and rightfully so he should be there. Jon Jones is beyond words one of the greatest, if not the greatest of all time, ever in the UFC. Literally, that list I gave you guys, he is literally check marking like 90% of them. Was he a dominant champion? Absolutely. I mean, we could go on forever on who he defended his belt against once he won his belt. Was he did he obviously defend his belts multiple times? Absolutely. Was he a dominant champion? Absolutely. Look at the people he beat. He beat Machida, he beat Shogun, he beat Rampage, and not even just beat these guys, he straight up showed his dominance in there by submitting some of these guys, by knocking out some of these guys, by just, getting these guys and not even making them look the same anymore. When they went in there, they definitely did not walk out the same. They were you can tell these guys were definitely into a fight. Has he lost? Obviously, technically, he has a loss on his record. But let's face facts. It wasn't an actual loss where he lost a decision, where he lost by knockout or submission. It was a technical loss with a disqualification, with his 10-6 elbow against Matt Hamill back in the day. And, nonetheless, still a rule. I get it. It's a rule that's still in place today, I'm sure. But do we consider that a loss? Not really. Not really. So there is that question a little bit on how Jon Jones would have handled a loss. Would he have been able to handle it well, come back, dust himself off, get better from his defeat, and come back even better than he was before? Or would he have allowed that loss to really get him almost soul searching and trying to figure things out and becoming a shell of his former self, like so many fighters have been when they lose, or when they lose that belt, I should say as well. So that one is a bit of a question. I do believe that Jon Jones would have been able to come back no matter what and go toe-to-toe with anybody no matter what. And win, lose, or draw, he was always going to come back as a real dominant champion. That's just my opinion. But again, we don't know. Was he ever in a dogfight? Oh, yes. Oh, yes. As a matter of fact, this fight got put into the Hall of Fame, if we all remember. He was in the fight. UFC, do not remember the number, but he was against Alexander Gustafsson, the first one. And God, that was a back and forth fight. These guys literally went at it. These guys went toe to toe, nonstop. And it was phenomenal. It was such a great fight. Jon Jones' will was tested. He was quite possibly, into many people's eyes, lost that fight. I kind of feel like he did lose it, but at the end of the day, don't matter. He still won. And again, great fight. Showed his will, showed how strong he was, showed that he was not going to give up. So there's that. Now what everybody knows and what everybody which is sad, knows Jon Jones for is steroids. Did he use steroids? And unfortunately, yes, he did. He did. And it's a big reason why, me personally, I cannot put him on the top of the greatest of all time. And here's my reason why. Even though I know the argument, there's a couple arguments. There's, well, he did do steroids. He was caught. He was suspended. He did his time. That's true. But it's not something you can just easily forget. It's not something they can easily just be like, well, you did your time. And so we're not even going to remember that no more. No, unfortunately, you still did steroids. You still use some kind of performance enhancers to help you in that cage. Now, another argument is, well, a lot of his fighters that he fought were also on steroids. Again, true. But then there was also fighters on there that never popped. And I don't care what anybody says. I know what people are going to say. Well, he came from a time where a lot of people were using him and this is that. Don't matter. Either you were caught or you were not. You either were on steroids, they caught you on it, they showed you, you're suspended, whatever the case, whatever the punishment was, or you were never caught because you were never on it, whatever the case is. You either were on it or you were not. You were either caught or you were not. And there are fighters that Jon Jones went against that were not on steroids. And to my knowledge, he popped right after that DC fight, the second fight. And this is where it makes me question things, such as how would have DC done if Jon Jones was not on steroids? Did these steroids help Jon Jones in a way to win his fight against Daniel Cormier? Did these steroids, was it just a one-time thing or was it a multiple-time thing? Was it once in training camp or throughout his training camp? These are all questions that we do not have answers to because obviously we're not there. But what makes it difficult for us is that there's still questions we're asking. And we're still looking at it like Daniel Cormier never did this. There's other fighters, notable fighters out there that's never been popped. And that's what bothers me. We look at fighters who, like, again, use Daniel Cormier for example. He trains, does everything the right way, trains his hardest, goes to camp, has his 2 or 3 training sessions a day, eats the good food, eats the right food, does everything the right way, and loses to somebody who decided to have a little more help. Now, we all know Jon Jones didn't need no help. So why he took it, who knows? Only he does. Was it because of these dick pills that he went to go get? Was there picograms? Again, who knows? But nonetheless, this is what he did. This is what he took. And this is what he ended up doing and preventing from somebody else achieving their dream. Who knows? Daniel Cormier could have beaten Jon Jones, quite possibly, in that second fight. We know what happened in the first fight, but in the second fight, it seemed a little bit more competitive in my point of view. Just a little bit more. Jon Jones was still dominating, don't get me wrong. But again, did steroids have a little bit more to do with that? Or maybe not. Again, questions that we are asking, but we don't have answers to. And because we don't have answers to them, because we just are, just having to settle with what we have, and that is the fact that Jon Jones did on multiple occasions pop for steroids. So me personally, not saying to anybody else, but me personally, I cannot put him as the greatest of all time. I could put him as a great champion, sure. Again, dominant champion, multiple times. Right now, he is trying to go for another division. He is hoping to get that Stipe or that Francis fight. And I'm looking forward to seeing it. And I'm looking forward to seeing him back in there. Now, could he potentially be the greatest of all time? Yeah, there's nothing stopping that. He could go up to the heavyweight division and dominate up there like he did in the light heavyweight division. Absolutely. And then I guarantee you this whole steroid stuff would be just nothing more but a distant memory. But right now, unfortunately, no. I can't have him on there. Because there's other fighters who worked their hardest, who did everything the right way, who trained, who did everything they could to be the best, and to be stopped by somebody who just needed a little more help to be better than their opponent doesn't sit well with me. So no. Do you guys agree? Please leave a comment, like, subscribe, hit the notification button, and wait for part 2. Thanks, guys.